Give me just a second. Have I told you lately how proud I am of you and what you do for our country every day? On April 16th, thanks, Don, I think. I made my announcement to, as a candidate for governor. The day before, WMUR and UNH had done a poll, and my name recognition was 7%. And Judy was my wife, who unfortunately can't be with us this morning. She was amazed. She said, "Who are the 7%? And I said, well, honey, you know, and as I chat with you all, I'm not a politician. All right, so, and I'm not on TV selling stuff. You know, we're basically head down trying to run, you know, a business here in New Hampshire and across the country and frankly around the globe. So why would anybody know us? And we live up in Alton, and I think all 6 of them were that made up the 7%. And frankly, this is my first elective office. It's not exactly true. I ran for president of my high school class. I won by 2 votes. And 2 years ago, I ran to be a representative to the state convention for the New Hampshire GOP, and in Alton, and I won that by 2 votes. And I mean, so I had to get 407 votes, and I attribute to the fact that my name was above the person who got 405 votes. It was just easier. People ask me all the time, you know, well, why are you running? And you have every right to understand that. I got sick and tired of yelling at the TV. When Judy and I came here 15 years ago to work at Sanders, a Lockheed Martin company, a proud Lockheed Martin company, a company, notwithstanding the fact we'd lost our way a little bit and had to figure out where we were headed, but a proud company of extraordinary people. I remember talking to Bob Coots, and some of you people may remember Bob Coots. He was an executive vice president at Lockheed Martin. He's the one that interviewed me to consider coming up to Nashua. And I first time I ever met Bob, I was in a little restaurant in Bethesda, and I said, Bob, you know, I got to tell you, the fact that you have to come recruit me to go to Sanders reflects a failure of leadership on the part of Lockheed Martin. And I mean, I'm not kidding you, that was probably the first sentence I said to Bob Coots. And those of you who know Bob Coots, that's not a good thing to say to Bob. You have failed. And he thought about it a little bit, and he said, well, why do you say that? I said, I competed and partnered with Sanders when I was at E-Systems and at Raytheon, and I know the magnificent people and talent that's in Nashua and southern New Hampshire. And the fact that you couldn't find somebody to lead is not their fault. That's your fault. And he still hired me. And it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me, short of my marriage, being commissioner Marine, being a father, and being a grandparent. without a doubt, my experience here in Nashua and at BA Systems was the highlight of my professional life. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be back and chat with you. I'll use a Massachusetts term, you've heard me say, I'm wicked proud of what you do every day and helping our country. And I just wish I were still doing that with you, to be frank. I failed retirement miserably. I retired from SAIC 2 years ago. And then, even though Judy and I had a wonderful life, we decided that if there was a time where I could make a difference, the time was now. If there was a time where the state needed a little redirection, because frankly I think we've lost our way, I think it's now. And so you either keep yelling at the TV or you do something. And that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm running. I'm running for one simple reason. I believe I can make a difference. I believe I can make a difference when it comes to economic development of our state. I believe that's the most important issue facing us over the next 5 to 10 years. And in the process, create jobs in the private sector. That's what I'm all about. And it seems we've lost our way in that regard. And over the last 15 years, we've seen what is, for Judy and me, the best place to live, the best place to work, and the best place to raise a family, but not the best place to do business. And we need to make it the best place to do business. So we turn around some of those cars on the highway that are going into Massachusetts every day. So our kids and our grandkids can grow up here, go to school here, and have enriching lives here because of the work they do. On Wednesday, I started what I call the Factory Floor to Entrepreneurs Tour. You know how I am. Some people will think of that as a little bit disparaging. You know I know where the value added comes in all our businesses. It comes on the factory floor. There's not a business or not a contract over the thousands and thousands of contracts that you and I work on and have worked on that ever required a CEO. Not one of them in their statement of work or the solicitation said, thou must have a CEO. Right? Because they know the CEO is not value added. Maybe necessary, right? But not value added. So over the next 60 days, I expect to touch over 100 businesses, primarily small businesses, because that's where 70% of our jobs are created. And talking to entrepreneurs and folks that are working in those businesses to understand better what their needs are. What are the restrictions that we can lessen to be much more business friendly? When I got here in 1999, New Hampshire set itself apart from the rest of the region as a place to do business. We actually, for the previous 3 decades, had been growing at a double-digit rate. Our GDP, when you compare it to the other states in the region, was far better. In the last 15 years, our GDP has, at best, kept pace with the region. There are a lot of reasons for that. We've had some changes in our tax structure. We've had continually high increases in the cost of health and health insurance. Our energy prices, although competitive in the region, are not competitive in the nation. And frankly, our education, albeit one of the best education and higher education systems in the country, is not fulfilling the needs of New Hampshire. That's why at the UNH alone, 50% of our students come from outside New Hampshire. And of the 50% that come from New Hampshire, half of those leave the state. And those students that leave the state to go to college do not come back. We've got to change that. My focus is going to be on economic development and job creation, but there are going to be, count them now, 5 big blue arrows. I'm waiting for Dick Kirtley to come up with a hat of the 5 big blue arrows. And I'll lay those out to everyone in July. I don't want to spring them on you today because I want to make sure I can refine them. Keep it simple, all right? Keep it simple. Circle of the big circle. Economic growth, job creation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? All focused on serving the citizens of New Hampshire. Okay? Serving ourselves. Let me give you one example of that. One of the things I was most proud of when I was here at what became PEA Systems IEWS, all right, Integrated Electronic Warfare Systems, was how much work we kept in the state. We had a philosophy. I remember having if it wasn't here, it was Crown Plaza. We had supplier conferences every year, just about. And half of the suppliers were New Hampshire-based suppliers. And we, at least those of us in the gang of 16, had a thought about buy New Hampshire, right? Buy New Hampshire. I want to see us do that again. So as we go around the state over the next 60 days, one of the things I'm going to be asking folks, where do you outsource? Where are you getting your castings? Where's your machining work being done? If you're doing build-to-print work or outsourcing production, where is that getting done? So the first thing we want to think about when we talk about economic development is economic development that we control, that we get to make decisions on right here in the state. The second element of economic development that's very important is how do we compete with the border that's less than a mile away here? What is it? What are we doing, or what do we need to do differently to entice, enhance, incentivize entrepreneurs? All big businesses like ours started as a small business. Ours started about 62 years ago, if I remember. And it started with, I think, 5 guys, right? Whose names are legend in our company. Well, if we can do 20 of those every year, 20 of those every year, will fundamentally change the economic future of our state. That's what I want to do. So I'll give you one part of one big blue arrow. Okay? And there are a lot of things that have to do to contribute to that. For those who don't know me very well, so this is a little bit of the stump speech because you all probably know me too well. I tell folks I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, I'm a United States Marine, I'm a business leader, I'm a community leader, and I'm a philanthropic leader. And I want to take that 40 years of leadership and to the best of my ability, move it to Concord. Right? You all know that the governor's position in the state of New Hampshire is characterized as one of the weakest governors in the state, in the United States. That means the governor needs to be an extraordinary leader to have an impact. Cannot wait for the Senate or the House to figure out what a budget ought to look like. Cannot wait for the Senate or the House to figure out where the emphasis needs to be. What needs to get more emphasis, what needs to get less emphasis. And that's what I want to take to the corner office in Concord with your help. That's why I'm running. I can tell you this, I need your help. I need your help to get me at least up to 8%. And I will tell you this, as Don was said, let me just take you through the decision-making process. At the end of the day, it came down to a question that Judy asked of me. But I treated this as if I was going head-to-head with Raytheon. And you know how I think about Raytheon. Is the opportunity real? Can we win it? And is it worth it? Is the opportunity real? Is the opportunity to make a difference in the state as the governor, is it real? Or is it the nature of things in New Hampshire so difficult that you really can't have an impact? Frankly, that was the question I struggled the most with, because I didn't know. I had to go out and ask legislators, I asked lobbyists, I asked fellow citizens, can someone really make a difference? And at the end of the day, I came down to the conclusion that you could. If you're willing to work hard and pay attention. Can you win? I'm more convinced of that today than I was yesterday because I'm here with you. But the answer is I'm convinced we can. And I had some outside polls outside the state come in and make sure it did a benchmark. And even though I only had 7% name recognition, the generic Republican running a race didn't do any better. And frankly, even the latest polls have moved that up substantially. So I know we can win. And is it worth it? My son and his wife lived in Bedford up until last June, and they moved to Texas. And it was on my recommendation, actually. Walter called me and said, hey, I've got an opportunity to go to Texas with Elvin. What do you think? Well, your kids aren't in school yet. If you're ever going to learn whether or not you like the opportunities that come from moving around, and you all know, Judy and I moved 16 times before we came to New Hampshire. Right? So you might as well figure that out, Walter. And so he did, he moved. I want to make sure this is a state Walter and Millie and Lindsay Taylor and Riley Brook can come back to and live for the rest of their lives if they choose to do it. And that's what makes it worth it for me. Okay. So I went through that process, and at the end of it, Judy said, okay, here's the deal. You've been doing things with FIRST, you've been sitting on the board of the Naval Academy Foundation, you've been sitting on this board and that board and this. That's not work. You love doing that. That's not work. So are you willing to work as hard for the people of New Hampshire as you are for the young people who wear the helmets and the flak jackets and the flight suits and bell-bottom trousers? When I said, yes, I am, she said, then you have to run. That's why I'm standing here today, right? You deserve that leadership. And although I may not deserve it, I am grateful for your support. I am grateful for your support. This won't work if I don't and can't count on your support. I'm gonna have to raise $1 million in the next few months, right? I know how hard that is.
Jake, my wallet.
I was really counting on Don.
Oh, yeah.
Both these kids are going to drop out of college.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to have volunteers who can reach out, like Don was talking about, to their neighbors and their friends from their heart to make this work. And you're the start of that. You're the start of that. So I've got a crew of folks here in the back. Matt Maroney, my field director. Matt, raise your hand. Where's Henry? Henry Goodwin. Oh, by the way, Henry, just say hello.
Hello, everyone.
That's in deference to Ian King, all right? Bill Malloy, one of our former colleagues and a retiree of BA Systems. Bill is a first-rate volunteer. Actually, he's the one that allows me to make phone calls all day by escorting me around. Matt Seaholm, who's the campaign manager. Matt, we have anybody else from the team here?
Yeah, John Bowler's here.
Oh yeah, John. Good to see. John just graduated from the University of New Hampshire in political science, and is another one of our field managers. So welcome aboard, Johnny. I think he joined us on Tuesday, right? Or Wednesday or something, wherever we were that day. Yeah. So they're part of the team that's helping me. The biggest part of the team that's helping is not here today, and that's my wife Judy. And you'll get a chance to see her. I hope a lot more than me. She's a lot more attractive. And I think people were surprised when I announced my candidacy that Judy wasn't announcing, all right? She's been the one most politically active in the state. With that, let me ask you to do two things. It has nothing to do with this campaign. I was looking around the flag to start this meeting the proper way. I didn't see one. But it does remind me that this weekend and Monday, and I'm grateful for you being here on what is really a 4-day weekend for y'all. Monday's Memorial Day. And if the sun's shining, we'll all be eating hot dogs and watching parades and things like that. Don't forget to take a few minutes, a few Pransky reflective minutes, and say a special thanks to all those who served and died for our country. That's what this weekend is all about. Yes, it's the start of summer. Yes, it's opening of pools in the South. Trust me, not up in Alton. But it's mostly about remembrance. And the other thing is, don't forget to thank the troops. Not just in action, but in deed. We're about to finish 11 years of war. Let's hope we're finished. Right? But as soon as we pull out of Afghanistan, people are going to stop thinking about the helmets and the flak jackets, flight suits, and bell-bottom trousers. They're going to be thinking about other things. Remember what we talked about. The day those young people, we can't count on them, we're in big trouble. But you cannot legislate soul. And that's what those young people represent. They represent the soul of our country, their willingness to serve for that simple act of gratitude that comes from thank you. Oh, by the way, you don't hear the active duty people complaining about the benefits that they're being cut or about the future veterans issues. You don't hear them complain about that. So the only way we keep those people motivated, our country's freedom insurance, is by thanking them. And for that, they'll do everything for us. As I told you many, many times, probably the single biggest disappointment when I retired from BA Systems was I didn't get to drive by what is now Walter Reed Medical Center in Bethesda and look up on 5W and know that's where those young people with our most serious injuries were, and periodically go in there on the weekends. And because when you talked to them, you knew they would do anything for us. So, in tradition, don't forget to thank the troops, okay? Thank you for being here. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. For those who are willing to sign up, the sign-up sheets in the back to serve as volunteers, work with the team. You'll see me out and about. I'm gonna tell you something, I'm not a politician, all right? And you know from time to time, I may do something goofy. I'm gonna apologize to you right now. I will try to do my best to keep from doing anything wittingly to make you ashamed of me. But unfortunately, everything I do is tracked and recorded, and I just ask you to be a little patient with me when I do behave in a way that may not be living up to your standards. I'll work my darndest. That's why I'll keep Judy next to me as much as possible to live up to your expectations. Anybody have any questions of me?
Reason for work boots.
Oh, no, I've got them. Yeah. Yeah, well, the trick, Ollie, is you're kind of going every day DC to light, right? You're meeting with somebody, you want to, as a donor or sponsor or somebody, and you're going to the hospital, and so you need to look like this. And right after this meeting, I'm going over to a machine shop, and you kind of, you're doing kind of a Superman act, except there ain't no cape, all right? There ain't no big S, right? And so you're doing wardrobe changes at the speed of light.
Don could loan you a pair.
Yeah, no. Hey, Don's falling into this routine pretty good, I gotta tell you. Anything else I can help you with? Okay, I'm Walt Havenstein. I'm a candidate for governor on the Republican Party, and I'd be grateful for your support. Thank you.
Croc TV.